This is Radhakrishna, and I'm representing Skil App. So we are actually into it's a startup company, and we are into mentoring process, and also we plan to start with immigration process for all the intended audience. So mainly the focus for this webinar is mainly for the visa EB5. So we all know, like right now with the EB2, EB3 process and how long it's taking. So we wanted to give you benefits on with EB5 visa processing. So we have Banu, who is from BBI Law, who will be helping us in understanding the EB5 program and what are all the advantages with the EB5 program. Uh, this is an interactive session wherein you guys can pop in questions. So because we have a couple of questions already we received, we plan to go through them like if time permits, yeah, we will be answering those questions in this session itself, or else like we might get back to you guys in a couple of days. And also we would like to thank you guys, thank our sponsors. So we have EB5 American LLC, who are actually one of the sponsors, and we have Lakshmi Morapati, who is the New York life agent. Uh, they have sponsored us. So EB5 American LLC is a provider of different EB5 investment opportunities. So they are currently like for any visa processing related to EB5, you can contact Kalyan at 908 8608. So he can answer your questions related to EB5 American LLC. So they are currently doing a project in Oakland, California, wherein they have about 1 or 2 units with 408 bedrooms. Uh, they have this venture which is actually like which is near to all tech companies in California. So let's start with our EB5 process, and I would ask Banu to actually let us know what EB5 investor visa is all about and what are all the requirements that are required for applying for an EB5.
Thank you. Thank you, Skil App. And thanks for the sponsors, EB5 American LLC, and also Lakshmi Mupattigaru for sponsoring this event and inviting me to speak on this program about the EB5 visa, what are its requirements and everything. See, EB5 Investor Visa Program has been established in 1990 by the Congress for the purpose of creating uh, jobs to the US workers. That means mainly US citizens and the green card holders with the foreign investments for the money coming from the foreign investments into the US. So that was the purpose of the EB5 program, which was started in 1990, basically by the Congress.
Okay.
And the foreign investment requirements is basically the minimum requirement is $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But however, in 1992, they basically assigned a different program called a regional center program or a targeted employment area program. Through that, basically, the investment can be made up to $500,000 to get a green card, basically, and that 500,000 should be able to generate or create 10 U.S. jobs for the 10 jobs to the U.S. workers in this country.
Okay.
And these investments must be made in the new commercial enterprise, basically. We usually call NCE in our legal term and everything. So it has to be always in a commercial enterprise. This money has to be invested. It cannot be invested in any residential properties or a personal properties or anything like that. It has to be in the new commercial enterprise. So that is very, very important uh, in this particular project, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and uh, so that is the basic nuance of EB5 investor visa, and the Congress has created 10,000 visas per year in this program.
Okay, so
Okay,
does it have any country limit, or it's irrespective of country, anyone can apply for it?
anybody can apply for it,
Okay.
and basically the limit is basically 10,000 visas per year
Mm-hmm.
for the EB5 category, basically. You know,
Okay.
and obviously any visas that have been allocated in this country will have a per country limitation as to the limitation of how
Right.
many visas can be given for the country.
That's true.
And EB5 visas also will be counted towards that.
Oh,
But
okay.
but but for Indian nationals, EB5 visas will never become will always will be current because of the number of subscriptions it happens from the Indian nationals
Mm-hmm.
across the country. So, especially for the people who are waiting for a long time in getting their green cards, especially in EB2 and EB3, and we do not know when their dates can become current, when they can file for adjustment of status, when they can get their green cards. It may take several years. EB5 program will provide an avenue for them basically to expedite the process of their green card in this country. If they have an ability to invest $500,000 at least in the targeted employment areas, which we will discuss later what are targeted employment areas and everything.
Okay.
And so if they have an ability to invest that kind of money, then they can really expedite their process. And it's very likely that they'll, because they're from India, it's very likely that they'll get their green card within 12 months to 20 months.
Okay. So the next question would be like, we will be investing 500 K
Mhm.
for getting a EB5 visa.
Mhm.
So is there any duration, like do we have to show a continuous revenue kind of a thing on, so you did mention about 15 to 20 months of duration, right?
To get
So
a green card,
to
basically.
get a green card.
Okay.
So is there any revenue kind of an activity that we need to show? So let's suppose we have provided employment to 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
and so our business is going on. So what is the criteria that they will be looking at for us? Like, so we will be investing 500K.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the other criteria that they will be looking at for providing a green card?
Okay. The criteria which they look into is that the viability of the EB5 project.
Okay.
Okay. The project is viable or not, in which money has been created, in which money is invested, EB5 funding has been done, and whether the project is going to complete or not, whether the project has been created jobs or not. All those factors will come into. Basically, what they look into is, if they really look into it, what they look into it is whether this money has been put in the EB5 program, whether they'll be able to complete that project, which they're investing money, whether they're able to create those required jobs for the
Okay.
investment purposes. What is the actually investment seed capital, what they're looking into? What is the investment capital they're looking into? Do they have any backup plans, basically, whether this investment plans? And any business plan of the EB5 program has to be in compliant with one of the case laws given by the USCIS, which is called Matter of O, and the business plan has to be in compliant with that Matter of O. And most of the times we get the economic reports and other things which are basically given by the standards provided by the USCIS on them. And are these programs, everything is being meeting those requirements or not? So the criteria is the business must be viable and business must be going on. Whatever plan you are investing, you're trying to put on money, that must be going on and existing basically, and you should be able to continue that business for a period of time. That is what the criteria for EB5 program is basically.
So is there any duration, like for a period of time, in the sense like 6 months, 1 year, or?
It could be. I mean, you could create 10 jobs within 6 months also, but the jobs must continue, right?
Right.
Because it has to continue. See, what happens is otherwise people can just create a payroll for 1 month, 2 months, and they say they create 10 jobs,
Right.
and then nothing happens after
Correct.
that. It's not that. It has to be viable employment, and it has to be bona fide entity, just not only created for the purpose of getting EB5 green card, but for purpose of really developing a project and investing into the money and everything. So it's very important that you speak with the immigration lawyers
Okay.
and specialists basically about more details about these things, and get more knowledge about that, how this program can be done. And we, as an immigration law firm, we represent all types of cases and everything. We do represent EB5 investor visa programs also. We do direct investments, we do regional center investments also, basically.
Okay.
And we work with the various regional centers, and now EB5 American LLC also is one of them who are basically approaching us to send, I mean, if any of our clients are interested, basically to meet with them and everything, it is one of them. We work with EB5 related group of companies also. We work with EB5 Global also. We work with the different regional centers also. And we also help people doing the direct investment. For example, if they want to if they want to invest on their own business, basically, and they want to control and manage the business, we help them also through that. Basically, work with the right people who can provide all the information properly, who can prepare the documentation properly. That is what the key for the EB5 program.
Okay,
Okay?
so
Documentation is very
key for
key,
EB5 program.
and you need to have a right people, right personnel working on that, and that is the due diligence one has to take care of. Who are the person basically involved? Who is the economist, basically, whether he has any knowledge about the EB5 program or not, whether his economist report is complying with the SCOPS 2 requirements with the USCIS and everything,
Okay.
whether the business plan is basically complying with the matter of case law or not. All those things comes into existence. Actually, who are the ones who are designing the investment deeds and everything, basically the loan policies, all those things will come in. There's a lot of technical information which I'm trying to explain over here. Probably, I think it would be a good idea if the audience can ask questions about that personally to us so that we can really clarify.
Okay.
But in general, the requirement is that it has to be in a new commercial enterprise or a distressed entity, which basically allows them to create 10 jobs, and the business must be a bona fide business, and it is to be in operation basically.
Okay. So the next question would be like, is there any qualification that they look at, or any person can invest in EB5?
Not every person can qualify for EB5 program. Basically, what the USCIS does not state anything in its regulations actually who qualify for EB5 program, who does not qualify for EB5 program. But the EB5 investments basically they have to comply with the SEC regulations also.
SEC regulations?
SEC regulations.
SEC. So,
Yeah. Securities and Exchange Commission basically.
Okay.
Okay. They have to comply with them because they are basically raising the finance capital for development of a projects basically, right? Whether it's a own business or any project. If it's a own business, basically, SEC regulations may not come into picture because there is a $5 million limit exception basically there. It's called Schedule D exemption basically. If you're raising up to $5 million, you don't have to comply with SEC regulations. But if you're raising more than $5 million, then you have to comply with SEC regulations basically.
Okay.
So, but most of the times what happens is a lot of people do regional center investments because the advantage with regional center investment is basically they can show direct job creation, indirect job creation, and also induced job creation basically. Okay. So that means, so because of that flexibility we have with regional center investments, a lot of people prefer investing in regional centers basically.
So when we say regional center, so what is a regional center?
Regional center is nothing but a special designation given by the USCIS to a particular entity saying that their project and their plan, their proposal basically qualifies for raising the investments of $500,000 from certain number of individuals basically, and that project is qualifies as that area, the location, geographical location, which they're saying in the project qualifies as a TEA, targeted employment area and everything, so they can raise $500,000 from each applicant or each investor, and then they can basically sponsor them green cards basically. So it's a special designation given by the USCIS. Every regional center to be inactive, they have to file for certification every year. Every regional center basically they have to file reactivation certification every year with the USCIS to continue the regional center designation basically. So once they get a regional center designation, it does not enough basically. They have to keep on continuing getting recertified every year by submitting all the compliance report and everything to them. So that's what regional center is all about. So basically you don't have to do the paperwork again showing that your investment qualifies for a targeted employment area and all those things. The regional centers already have that documentation. They already prepared the documentation in compliance with the USCIS regulations, basically their business plan and everything. And they can basically raise money from various investors into one particular group, and they can show direct, indirect, and induced job creations basically. That is why regional center investments is very convenient for the people to go with. But however, you have to do due diligence, which regional center you're investing, what are the requirements and everything. And we will talk about the due diligence requirements for each and everything once we look into it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry if anybody has a difficulty in understanding me, if I'm speaking a little bit faster or anything like that, because generally my language is basically is, I mean, I tend to speak a little bit faster compared with other people in general. That's the way naturally I'm being. But hope you all understanding what I'm trying to say in this particular session. You know.
Okay, so the next question would be like, so each individual who is applying for an EB5 needs to come up with a 500K investment. So can it be a group of persons, or it should be an individual who will be making it up with a 500K investment?
It has to be an individual who's making a $500,000. But however, one has to understand that that investment can be made and for entire family. For example, person A is investing $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Along with him, his spouse and his children who are unmarried and below 21 years of age can also get green cards along with him in the EB5 investment program.
Okay, so are they also counted against 10,000, or they are the
Uh,
family is excluded?
Usually they're supposed to be counted towards that basically, but I mean, that's what it is basically.
Okay, sure.
You know.
Yeah, thank you. And let's go with the next one. So when we are talking about funds, like 500,000 funds,
Mhm.
so do we have to get it only from India? And if we get it from India, do we show the source of how we got that amount? Or can we go for a loan over here? So, or it's an individual contribution wherein they should have a solid 500,000
Mhm.
for applying for an EB5.
Okay. It's a very good question, Ramkrishna Garu.
Mhm.
The main question here is basically is that whether the funds people who are investing in EB5 program are the funds has to come from country, from outside the country, or the people can invest with the money which they have within the United States. First question is basically is that people can invest the money which they earned in the United States into EB5 program. They don't have to bring the money from abroad, basically.
Okay.
Okay, that is one important thing, and all this money must be legally earned money. So they have to show the source, how they earn that money, or from where they get the money and everything. There is various ways they can get money. Basically, that could be their earnings,
Mm-hmm.
or could be savings, or by selling a property or anything like that, or taking home equity. Basically, if somebody has a home equity available to them, they can take a home equity also, and that money also can be used for the investment purposes in EB5 program.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
but one cannot take a loan or line of credit from a bank, from the personal or business, and invest in EB5 program. That becomes a disqualified source of income
Okay.
because you owe that money to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But your home equity is your money, so you don't owe money to anybody else.
And so when we are buying a home, we will have an option for cousins who can provide us with some money, wherein like they gift it, like it's kind of a gift kind of an activity that happens when we are buying a house. So can similar thing happen for EB5 too?
Anybody can gift you the money.
Okay.
But the person who's gifting you the money has to show the source where the money has come from for him,
Okay.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody can gift you money. Your parents can gift you money. Your brothers can gift you money. Your friends can gift you money. Even your cousins can gift you money.
Okay.
Everybody can gift you money, basically.
So is there any limit on how much they can give?
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
There's no limit.
Okay.
There is no limit on someone who can give you how much they can gift. But however, I'm not a tax lawyer, but there is a lifetime gift limitation for any individual. I think
Okay.
I think it's around 11 million or 11.8 million now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure about it because I'm not a tax lawyer. But I can definitely look into it if anybody
Sure.
wants an answer for that.
Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. And so next question would be on what is the duration for getting a green card? So you did mention like it's 15 to 20 months.
Mhm.
So is that a limited duration? That's the max duration that is the expectation, or
It is an expected duration. Anytime processing times with the USAs are expected timelines, So it is an expected timeline. It is not like guaranteed timeline.
Mhm.
Okay. At the current scenario, what we are seeing for Indian nationals is around 15 to 20 months.
Okay.
That is the expected timeline. You get a conditional green card after 15 to 20 months. After 2 years, within 2 years, within the last 90 days of 2 years, you have to file to remove conditions basically.
Okay.
Okay, and once you file to remove conditions, once the conditions are removed, then and you will be eligible for becoming citizen of the United States. And usually the period is just like any other green card. It's a 5-year period from the day you receive your conditional green card, not the day your conditions removed.
Okay.
But from the day you receive your conditional green card, from the day you receive your conditional green card, basically you get the 5-year.
For the citizenship,
For the
yeah,
citizenship
so that would
eligibility.
be a 5-year duration from the conditional green card.
Yes, from the day you get the conditional green card.
So can we assume that the whole process, like it would be 20 months plus 2 years of green card? So
I mean, the
for
entire,
getting an,
I would say for the investment purposes you're talking about, the investment purposes, I would say the timeline could be around 4 to 5 years totally.
okay, so we
Basically.
will have to show this investment and employ 10.
Most of the investors, basically the regional centers, basically you work
Mhm.
with, when we work with regional centers, most of them will have an exit strategy after conditions are removed, basically.
Okay.
So it's basically, usually the timeline is 5 years.
Okay.
And so one has to prepare that. The entire process, the conditions, conditional green card and the conditions to be removed and everything, they have to keep that in mind that it's around 4 to 5 years of process, basically.
Okay. And the next question would be what kind of business we will have to show. So can that be a tech company or can that be any investment kind of a thing like building uh, retail shops or putting a restaurant? So will all these come under the EB5 program?
Any new commercial enterprise will qualify for EB5 program as long as it is in compliant with the regulations, basically.
Okay.
Okay, so but most of the times when you look into it, we see the EB5 investments goes 2 types of businesses. Okay,
Okay.
one is basically is the franchise retail businesses, and the other one is basically real estate developments. Most of them, I mean 90% of the businesses goes to real estate developments, real estate development projects rather than anything else. And some of them we have seen regional centers work on franchise retail businesses also.
Okay.
Okay, the reason why they do the regional real estate development projects is basically it is easy to show the construction jobs, it's easy to show the induced jobs, it's easy to show indirect jobs basically created through this particular investment
Right.
basically. They can show the complete effectiveness of this investment in the community in which this business is introduced basically, where this business is done. Therefore, they basically test the community test. Whenever the USS determines whether this investment is really creating the jobs or not, is basically they look into the community test, basically how community is being affected with this particular investment being made in that particular area. Whether jobs are being created or other jobs are being affected, like for example, I'll put some small example to you, right? If you create a big strip mall, right, and it will create jobs and everything. At the same time, if it affects the other small businesses located in the community, and if they lose jobs because this strip mall or this mall is basically came up, so those businesses go out of business, they lose business,
Right.
and they lose jobs, that will negate the fact that you created jobs. That is what the induced job test will come in basically.
Okay.
Okay, so it is very important that what kind of a project it is and everything also. But most of the times they look into is the real estate projects, basically real estate development projects, because that's where you have plenty of opportunity to use these investment funds, because they're also secured by the property basically, right?
Right.
By the land, by other things, and most of the times these investments are happening in the mezzanine investment levels. That means basically yours will be second level, investors will be at the second level secured interest basically rather than the top level, you know. So they're basically like a loan, they're secured by like a loan or a preferred stock, some way like that. They structured these investments basically. Okay, that's too technical in the finance side. I do not want to go in this call because it may cause too much confusion and
Okay,
everything.
sure.
Because we are here to people to understand what the EB5 program is and what are the steps they have to take care themselves if they decide to go ahead with the EB5 program, and what they have to look into when the investment purposes, what is the immigration risk they have, what is the financial risk they have, and that is what the purpose of this call is. And
Sure.
and at the same time how we can help them as immigration lawyers and what we can do through this thing, and also other regional centers which we are aware of, where if they want to go ahead and talk to some regional centers, we can basically refer to the people like EB5 American LLC,
Right.
and other people where they can go and talk to, and especially our sponsors. And once again, thank you very much our sponsors, EB5 American LLC and Lakshmi Popati Garu from New York Life. And also, I would like to thank you, Skil App, also for conducting this event.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. So the next question is like, how do we decide? Like, one can decide whether they have to go with a regional center or a direct investment.
That's a very good question, Andy. How one can decide whether to go with the direct investment or a regional center, right? Uh, the see one has to decide what is requirements are. Like for example, if somebody wants to come to US or stay in the US and manage their own business, they want to take care of their own business, they want to have a control on their own funds and finances, then direct investment doing on their own businesses is very useful for them. A lot of people don't have time and everything. They were investing this only for the purpose of getting a green card. They have different ambitions.
Okay.
They have different goals basically. So this then regional center program will be very convenient for them. And also the amount, right? Basically, for example, if you're doing direct investment, most of the times what happens is you would like to do a business where it's a metropolitan statistical area, where it's highly populated area, where there's high employment area and everything, because you want to run your business very successfully.
Right.
For that, the limit is basically you have to put $1 million over there. That can become sometimes burdensome somebody to invest $1 million at a time in a business.
Correct.
Regional centers allows you to invest only $500,000. So that is an advantage you have with the regional centers. Okay, so those are the factors one has to consider when they're investing in a business and everything. Do you want to really participate actively in any this thing, or you want your money to be secured, invested? Basically, of course, money has to be at risk.
Correct.
By law, but you will know your money is secured or not by doing your due diligence, whether this particular project is viable or not, whether this project is having all the parameters that is required for investing EB5 funds into that. You know? So based upon that, you can make a decision where you might get some kind of a ROI depending upon regional centers. In the market, usually ROI, what these regional centers gives around 0.25% to 6%. That is what I've seen with various regional centers.
Okay.
And the regional center which I worked recently with EB5 related. We are ready to file a few cases with them. They're giving 3.5% ROI, and I think EB5 American LLC also said they're giving very good ROI.
Okay.
From 2.5 to 5.5% basically. So there are different regional centers. I mean, EB5 Global also said the same thing. They'll also will give around some kind of ROI, but what we see is this promising ROIs will be there if there is a very bona fide entities, investments and everything. You also look into it basically. Those factors are the ones which determine what is better for you, whether to go with the regional center or go with the direct investment into direct business by yourself.
Okay. So, and also I have one more question regarding the investment. So can a venture capitalist come in with a startup company, and if they sponsor some, they'll be funding the project, right? So will that also be considered as an EB5 investment, or?
That is not. Basically, that is a venture capitalist investment.
Correct.
That is not your personal funds. So see, in the EB5 program, EB5 project can be funded in various ways, right? Most of the times what happens is EB5 funding will be, in any of the projects, will be around 40% to 35%. Remaining them will be from the project developer funding sources, basically either by loan or by other cash capital available, or the secured cash available, or secured equity available. And there are various ways they fund the projects basically.
Okay.
So venture capitalist funding is part of that capital which you are basically raising for the particular project, but your funding, EB5 funding, has to be your personal funds.
Okay.
Okay, and I mean, let's give an example, right? Let's talk about the EB5 American LLC. I think they provided very good information to us about what their project is and everything, right?
Right.
And they basically said that they are basically developing 102 units. This project is located in in Oakland, California.
Oakland, California. That's true.
And they've been affiliated with a big network who has a prior track history of more than 100 plus EB5 applications processed, right? And basically what they're telling is that in that project, they have 102 units basically with 408 bedrooms basically. It's a residential project basically. So they're building an apartment / condominiums there, which are 102 units. So this project will require plenty of capital. This project requires plenty of capital, right?
Okay.
For example, if this particular EB5 American LLC project, I'm just giving an example. If they're constructing 1 and 2 bedroom project with 408 units,
Right.
I'm sure in Oakland it's a highly targeted employment area
Correct.
because it's been already designated as a targeted employment area. So in that area, even it's a highly targeted employment area, but the project being in California, Oakland, it's going to be very expensive. They might need at least, I mean, it's a rough figure, 15 to 20 million dollars for the entire project, right?
Right.
So 15 to 20 million dollars for the entire project. And for the project, what they do is certain amount of percentage of that project they basically raise by EB5 funding. That means from EB5 investors. Other funding basically will be given by the who are the sponsors for this particular project.
Okay.
That means who are actual investors, who are actually the one who are basically going to run this investment, this project, develop this project and thing. That's called developer funds, basically, developer money, right?
So that's excluding the EB5.
EB5 funding.
Okay.
And also basically they also bring in bank loans and other loans basically because they have to have a cushion of this funds availability to complete the project, right? Irrespective whether they were able to meet their target raising EB5 funding or not, let's assume that basically they are looking into for an EB5 American LLC, they're looking around 14 investors in EB5 funding. Right?
Okay.
That means 14 into 500,000. That means they're looking into 7 million investment. And the remaining amount, basically, they are going to secure all those money and everything because they have to make sure that, irrespective whether they raise that, whether they meet the 7 million target with EB5 funds or not, but they will definitely have enough funds to secure that their project will continue. They complete the project.
Okay.
The project is going to create those jobs and everything. So that is the information they have to look into and everything.
Okay.
EB5 American LLC, they provided all this information to me that they do all these things. So if anybody has any questions, they should contact them also. They can talk to them.
Sure.
It's not only them, basically, but various companies, right? I mean, various regional centers in which they want to invest, they have to look into these things. How much cushion they have, how much job creations are there. If they say that they're raising, if they're creating 14 investors, and that means they're going to create only 140 jobs, no, that means it's a risky involved.
Right, that's true.
So that 14 investments must create around at least 180 to 200 jobs. That means the budget and the planning of the project is really well because they have at least 1.5 jobs more is been planned to create with the funding which they're doing rather than just creating 140 jobs, basically,
Okay.
that one job and everything. So these are the factors one has to look into it when they're deciding what is best for them, basically.
Okay.
You know? And especially with EB5 invested money, that's what happens, basically. This is for the investor point of view. you know?
Okay. So, is there any criteria for EB2, EB3 candidates who can actually apply for an EB5? So,
Actually, there is no criteria. I mean, anybody, whichever immigration lawful status is there in the country, everybody has to meet the immigration requirements for doing EB5 requirement. That means they have to be lawfully, they should be meeting lawful status in this country. They never violated their status. They don't have any criminal record or any other baggage, which basically restricts them to migrate to US, basically. Okay.
okay.
So just like any other immigration visa. Okay. If they meet those requirements, then there is no issue whether they're in H1B program or whether they're in F1 program, whether they were in J1 program, whether they were in L1 program, or they were in O1 program, or they are in H4 or dependents B1, B2, doesn't matter, you know.
So, in the same criteria, so let's suppose a person is on H1B and he did apply for an EB2 or an EB3 green card program. So now they have decided to go with EB5. So let's suppose they have invested 500K on EB5 and their H1 got rejected. So what would be the criteria?
The thing is this, their green card will process irrespective of their H1B get denied or not.
Okay.
Whether they're in the US, whether they're in India, their green card gets processed.
Oh, okay. So they have to invest and they have to create 10 jobs irrespective of whether they are in US or outside
The
of
project will create 10 jobs. They are not creating
Right,
10
right.
jobs. The project will create 10
Correct.
jobs, right? They're investing in the project. So their green card will be processed because of the project.
Okay.
And in that way, when they're in India, they go with the consular processing for visa stamping, and then they come to US as a green card holder, basically. And then they can do whatever they want to do, basically. So their investment, it will continue anyway, and their process will continue. Whatever the project is there, it is there for them.
So there is no change in the duration. So it
There
is
is no
still
change
15
in
to 20 months.
Yes,
So
it's 15 to 20 months. There is no change in the duration for I-526.
okay, and the next question would be, let's suppose we have received a conditional green card after 20 months. So from 20 months to next 2 years, we will, for us to get the actual green card, if these conditions are not met. So when we are stating about conditional green card, so there will be set of conditions.
Yes.
So if those conditions are not met, will the green card be cancelled?
Yes. If the conditions are not met, green card will be cancelled.
Okay.
That's why you have to make sure that you're investing in a business where those conditions are met, where the business is going to really meet those conditions requirements. That investment is really going to meet the requirements for the EB5 program.
Okay.
That's the reason why they've given this conditional green card. Because what happens is people will get a green card and then they will basically shut down everything. Okay?
Okay.
And that's it, it's done.
Right.
So they do not want that to happen. They actually want to see, as I said, it's a community test. They're going to look into the community test. They're going to look into it, how this investment is affecting that community where that investment is being made, where this particular project is being developed.
Okay.
That's what they look into. So that is very, very crucial in EB5 investment programs, which you are selecting, which you're doing and everything. So you have to gather those informations. Make sure that what is the driveline, what is their experience in running this program, what kind of a people they have in this program, right? That is what is very important when you're investing money.
Okay.
You know?
So can you let us know what an I-526 is? And
I-526 is basically nothing but it's an immigrant investor visa application petition basically.
Okay.
I'll show you example the form here. Okay, this is the form I-526. I think everybody can see. Basically, this is the immigrant investor visa petition filed by you as an applicant, as an individual. This is what you file. Along with that, you submit all the details required about your project and everything to the USCIS. And all those documents will be prepared by lawyers like us basically. We'll prepare the entire set of the documents. We review, we do due diligence about the project in which they're investing and also about their finances to ensure that they're qualified and everything or not.
okay.
And in that way, basically, then we prepare the entire package as a law firm and then we send it to the USCIS. That is what this I-526 is all about.
Okay, so for filing an I-526, should the candidate be in US or they can file from India too?
They can file from India too. They
Okay.
don't have to be in the United States to file I-526.
So there is no eligibility, like the person needs to be, he should have a legal status in US before filing the application?
No such requirement that somebody has to be legally present in the United States. A person who's living abroad also can file for EB5 visa, and a person who's living in the United States also in a legal status can also file for EB5 visa, and that's what it is basically, And that's what
So the other thing is like when we are talking about 500K, so does that include like, can I buy a property, put in my office there and create 10 jobs? Or can I do it that way, or it should be purely on the project which I am talking about, I need to put in the 500K?
Well, your example is a very bad example.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, what I mean to say is why it's a bad example is what do you mean by buying a property? I mean, just buying a property is not going to create the jobs.
No. So I'm not talking about, when we are talking about 500K, so does my 500K include like, I want to buy, let's suppose I want to rent out a space and put in my office.
If you're using the 500K only to buy, let's assume this way. If you're putting that 500K to buy a unit, like for example, your office unit,
right?
But that money is not used for anything else, then it does not qualify for EB5 program because buying a property does not create 10 jobs.
Correct.
Basically.
So what I'm stating is I'll be buying a property and providing 10 jobs.
How buying a property will create 10 jobs?
No. So those are two different entities. So I'm buying a property and I'm setting up my office in that, providing 10 jobs.
How? That's my whole point. Buying a property, you can create 10 jobs without even buying the property.
Correct. That's true.
So how it's going to benefit?
So the question is like, I totally agree with you. The question is like, can we include that also into?
It can become a part of the plan. See, the funds can be used for various purposes, right? But all those purposes should show the proximate relationship how those purposes are creating jobs to the US workers.
Okay.
Okay? If a buying a unit is going to create a job to the US workers, and if your business plan is in compliance with matter of law for that, then you're good.
Okay.
But your example is a very bad example, and unfortunately, that's not the way EB5 program works.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
there should be direct and proximate result for the investment,
uh-huh.
creating 10 jobs for the US workers.
Right.
So that direct and proximate result, how you show it, is very, very important in creating this particular EB5 program.
So the next question is like, can agriculture also be part of this particular program, EB5?
If the agriculture is creating jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have a solid foundation for that, yes, why not?
Okay.
It can be done, but as long as agriculture is done in the name of a commercial enterprise, if it's a new commercial enterprise entity activity,
Mm-hmm.
then yes. I mean, any nature of business can be done, but as I see, it's more viable, and the largest phenomenon we have seen with the regional centers is basically is with the real estate development programs and retail franchises programs, basically, because it's easy to show, because they have an established business models for them on showing how they can be in compliant with USCIS regulations and also with the SEC regulations, because it's easy to track down where the money is going, where the money is coming, and everything. So most of the times when you look into it, all these big major infrastructure projects use the EB5 program
Okay.
because of that.
So one more question on H1B holder.
Mhm.
So a H1B holder does an investment for EB5, 500K investment, and since that person is on H1B, so does he have to maintain the status of getting a paycheck and all those? Can he put it in his own company, or so how would that work?
H1B employee can work for his own company only if he has an H1B visa with that company.
Right.
Okay?
Correct.
Unless he has an H1B visa with that company, he cannot work.
Mm-hmm.
Filing I-526 does not give him any status in this country.
Okay.
Okay? He has to maintain proper, valid, non-immigrant status in this country.
Okay.
That means he must be legally employed as an H1B employee in this country
Mhm.
until his 526 is approved,
Approved.
and then file for adjustment of status.
Okay.
Okay, and adjustment of status applications for EB5 is not more than 1 month or 2 months these days. They're approving within a month
Okay.
or 2 months basically.
Okay. So it takes about 1 or 2 months once the
I-526 is approved.
I-526 is approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once they file 485,
Mhm.
yes, then they can basically transfer their employment
Correct.
to the entity in which they're working on. If it's a direct investment,
Mhm.
if it is their own entity.
Right.
If it's a regional center, that is not possible.
So if a person is on H1, so they cannot directly work for the company that they are investing in unless they get a green card.
They can work for that company.
Mhm.
I mean, once they file for 485, they can work for that company.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's what it is basically. I mean, if it's a direct investment, you're talking about the scenarios of direct investment,
Correct.
where on their own businesses.
That's
basically.
true. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so can you give us an example of I-294? What is that form is all about? And
I-924 is basically it's an application to. This is for the basically for the developers and
Mhm.
for the EB5 project developers basically. This is I-924 is nothing to do with the individual who's investing money.
Okay.
It is about the EB5 project developers. It is basically the application to designate their project as a regional center by the USCIS.
Mhm.
That is what I-924 is. And I think I have a sample form also for that. But I'm not sure how many developers are in this call.
Okay.
But if any developers are there, this is the form which they have to submit to the USCIS along with their proposal, along with their project, and along with their either exemplary or hypothetical or actual I-526 petition to show that this is what their project and everything is, and they're ready to get the investments from the people and get the certification from the USCIS. It's a very long process basically. You know, if somebody want to develop, my advice to the developers right now is basically is this: there are plenty of regional center, designated regional centers are available in the market, which they don't do any business and everything. By law, it allows you to rent a regional center. If you are a developer, you can rent a regional center and then you can develop a project into that.
Okay.
There are so many possibilities depending upon what project, what kind of a regional center it is, what is the geographical scope, what is the project scope and everything. Looking into that, and depending upon the demand, supply and demand principles, the people will be able to rent out these regional centers, and then they'll be able to raise the funds and then develop the project into that particular regional center. If you try to start with your own regional center processing, it's going to take too much time these days, because it's almost 1 year to 1.5 years for the regional center applications. There are more than 3,000 applications or 4,000 applications are pending with the USCIS for regional center designation only. Okay. So that is there basically. So my advice is, if any developers are in this call, they can talk to us basically on how to rent these regional center programs, regional centers, and how they can basically start their investment program and everything. And we'll be very happy to guide them in that way. And they can reach us our law firm. And I think I should not give the numbers. I think you should give the numbers.
Sure.
That's how it is basically.
Yeah,
Okay?
sure. So the next question would be like, so we spoke about H1B holders and all, right? So I'm assuming like an L1 status,
The same.
L1 visa guy or a F1 visa person, anyone can actually apply for an EB5.
Yes, anyone can apply for it.
And for applying for an EB5 application itself, right, what would be the cost, including the attorney fee, and also what would be the rough estimate for the application process?
It all depends on basically every program works very differently. Basically, every application works very differently.
So we can give a rough estimate.
It's
like,
very difficult to tell that.
Oh, okay.
Basically, only thing I can tell you is the USCIS fees. That is $6,250 for the EB5.
Okay, yeah. Sorry,
fee.
like we can talk about the
That
USCIS
fee. That's all it is. But if you're going with the regional center investments, basically, they'll have their administrative costs. That administrative cost includes for them preparing the business plan, working with the economists, working with the SEC attorneys, working with the immigration attorneys, getting the documentations done and everything. Every regional center has their administrative costs.
Okay.
Okay, and if anybody wants to talk to EB5 American LLC, they can call them. They can tell what their administrative costs will be for that. That is basically additional amount of money which they have to prepare beyond 500,000.
Beyond 500,000.
And
Okay.
along with the administrative costs, your immigration attorney fee also. For example, we are the immigration attorneys. If you come to us, you have to pay our fee basically.
Right.
Plus administrative costs for the regional center, which we don't handle that, because we are not affiliated with the regional center, because there's a conflict of interest. We can't discuss about financial investments with our clients, because as immigration attorneys, there's a conflict of interest. If it is there, we have to disclose that information to the client,
Right.
and the client can then make a decision on that, whether it's a viable project for them or not. Because if they see that if there's a financial interest for me in the particular project, then there's a conflict of interest. Then I'm not advising my client rightfully what is right and appropriate for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question would be like, how long would it take for us to file 526?
Doesn't take much time. I mean, if you're going with the regional center, right?
Okay.
If you're going with the regional center program, the I-526 filing will take 1 month to, I would say 4 weeks to 6 weeks.
4 weeks to 6 weeks.
Because
So
it's all about you collecting the documentation, you collecting the money, you basically securing all your finances, basically all your
Right.
money, all your funds and everything, and you providing all the information to us. Because regional center will provide all the information required to us. Basically, what we do is, if you select one regional center, let's assume that if you come to us, we talk to us, we tell you, okay, we worked in the past with these regional centers. If you want, you can go and talk to them, and
Okay.
you went and talked to them, those multiple regional centers. And then you made a decision which regional center is appropriate for you, what is apt for you. Then what they do is they provide their own checklist to you, they provide their own document list to you, what information they need from you and everything, all those things. Then they will collect all the documentation, they prepare all the documentation, they prepare their business plan and everything, and they give it to us basically. And then it's our job to correlate all these documents along with the immigration petition and making sure that the case, the numbers, everything in compliance and everything meets for the EB-5 investor visa, and
Okay.
ensure it meets the requirements. As an immigration lawyer, that's what we do. Just like H1B petition, right? When you are having a project, client letters and everything, we tell you what to get, what not to get. Same thing, we tell you what to get from the regional center, what not to get from the regional center.
Correct.
Same way we guide you through basically, and it's like that. That's what our immigration lawyer's job is basically.
Okay. So do we have a denial process for I-526 also?
What do you mean by that? Denial? Yes,
Denial.
yes, of course. Yeah, there'll be always a denial process.
Okay. And also an RFE also for additional information.
Every EB5 petition will end up in an RFE.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've not seen. I've done very few EB5 cases, but because most of my clients are from India and very few Indians do the processing.
Right, that's true.
But Uh, I have not seen in my life, I mean, just not me, basically, we're talking to other EB5 practitioners, basically immigration practitioners and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there is not a single case that has been approved without issuing an RFE. Maybe one in a blue moon,
Okay.
but once in a blue moon probably. But most of the times, they will issue an RFE for you to make sure that information you're providing is right, appropriate, and is it really continuing that investment process.
Right.
So they will definitely will check that, because there's a 15 to 20 month time process.
Correct. That's
Therefore,
true.
they want to make sure that everything is on time,
Mm-hmm.
everything as per schedule, at the time they adjudicate or approve the I-526 petition.
Okay.
Basically.
So let's suppose for any reason I-526 get denied.
Mhm.
So that means the investment is also like it's
At risk.
gone. It's at risk.
Not
right?
really. I mean, basically, that's what you have to do your due diligence. Basically, see the factors you have to look into is by doing your due diligence. There are two important factors which you have to look into. One is immigration risk due diligence.
Okay.
Other one is financial risk due diligence. Basically, right?
Mhm.
These two things which you have to really do your due diligence, right? When you do immigration risk due diligence, what you have to look into is is there any contingency plan in the event that not all desired EB5 capital is successfully sourced to complete the project? You
Okay.
know, will the project will be committed will completed by showing that sufficient funds are allocated for the completion of the project or not?
Mhm.
These are the factors will determine whether to approve the EB5 or not, right?
Okay.
So these are the risks which they have to look into it, and they have to look into it. Well, the required number of jobs will be created or not,
Right.
either by directly or indirectly or by induced job creation, whether those requirements will happen or not. Is there any job cushion in the project? As I told you in the beginning,
Mhm.
if they're raising $10 million, and if they from 100 people, from actually 10 million means basically from 20 people, right?
Okay.
That means they have to create 200 jobs basically.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
So if they're only creating 200 jobs, then there's a risk, because what if you don't meet the requirement?
Correct.
By the end of the project is done.
Mhm.
So whether you have in a project, whether you're going to create more jobs or not, that job cushion is there or not. Well, the project will be approved by the USCIS. That means I-924.
Mhm.
They'll have an exemplar project already approved or not. We have to look into those factors. If they have a I-924 filed with an exemplar project or hypothetical project, and if it is already approved, then it's a very good sign for you.
Oh.
But
okay.
sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes what happens is they would have filed I-924 exemplar with exemplar petition,
Mhm.
exemplar I-526 petition. Because of the processing times, it will be pending. But they had a history of getting it approved. So you have to look into those things also. So, but if it's already approved, it's well and good. If it is not, at least you can look into the factors, basically all these factors, and see what kind of an immigration this thing you have to look into it. And you have to look into is when was TA was designated for this particular project. I mean, targeted employment area designation
Right.
was given. When was this letter was issued to the particular regional center? Whether the regional center is completely filing a continuation certification by the end of the year, every year, because every year after September 30 calendar year,
Mhm.
before December 15th of that year, they have to file a continuation certification
Okay.
to the USCIS, and they have to submit all the documentation that the project, the regional center is continuing or not.
Mhm.
These are all the requirements which they have to look into, and the business plan, as I said, is in compliance with the matter of who or not.
Okay.
So all these things basically you have to look into for the immigration risk due diligence, right? About the financial risk due diligence, you have to look into that. What is the track record of the developers basically
Mhm.
in raising this thing? Who are the banks? Who are the lenders? And where are you standing in the line of investment? Basically, what is your position? How much you are secured or not? Is there any contingency plan in the event if the I-526 is denied, you're going to get back your money
Right.
with everything you put into it,
Mhm.
without any losing any money, or what other possibilities are there? You have to look into all that information.
Okay.
And without that due diligence, we will not advise you to go ahead with the regional center.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
any regional center, if does not provide you this information, I think you should avoid that regional center.
Okay.
But 99.99 times these regional centers do provide that information. They give you those contingencies, information, everything,
Mhm.
and then you can make a decision whether it's worth for you investing your money into that particular program or not.
Right.
You know?
Okay. So the other question is like,
Mhm.
so when we are talking about creating 10 new jobs,
Mhm.
so those 10 new jobs should be at a single point of time, or can they be
No.
created
In a period of time.
in a period
That's
of
the reason
time?
why you have a 2 years conditional green card.
Oh, okay. So by the end of 2 years, can we come up with 10 jobs, or?
Even before that also, before
Okay.
applying, even you can show up the 10 jobs creation even before the I-526 approved also.
Okay.
right? Because the construction jobs can be shown before that. If the
Right.
construction job completes before that,
Mhm.
you can show those jobs have been created with that. So that can be shown even after the 2 years conditions also removed. So
Okay.
it's not required that the jobs has to be created during the conditions only.
Mhm.
It can be before or after the fact also.
After the fact also. Okay. And is there any wage criteria that we need to show? Like,
They have to be full-time employees, that's all.
oh, they have to be full-time employees, and the minimum state wages should be fine.
Absolutely fine.
Okay.
There's nothing required. Based upon the position they are in,
Mm-hmm.
their wages has to be paid.
Yeah. So I think those are the questions that we have right now. Like,
Yeah, and yeah,
yeah,
basically,
go ahead.
if thanks, basically, and as I said, I haven't introduced myself briefly, properly before the event happened because of the technical difficulties we had at the time. My name is Bhanu Ilindra, and I own a law firm called BBI Law Group. We are located in Herndon, Virginia, and we are starting a branch office in New Jersey, also in Edison, which will be starting from July 1, 2018. You know, and we represent clients in various immigration matters. We specialize in every immigration matter basically, and I've been practicing immigration law for more than 14 years. And so that is my background. And as I said, we are trying to collaborate with Skil App for app services, basically for immigration app services, and that will also be coming in 1 to 2 weeks, where we basically subscribe and provide immigration services, advice in part of the Skil App program, Skil App basically. And at the same time, I would like to thank you, our sponsors, especially EB5 American LLC, Lakshmi Mopartikaru, for making this event possible for us with by taking the cost involved in this project and everything. And please feel free to reach our sponsors basically for any services you need, especially if you're interested in EB5 Residence Center program. It's a very viable project which they're developing, EB5 American LLC. Please feel free to reach them, talk to them, and get the more details from them. I think they have provided the contact details. I think Mr. Kalyan,
Yeah, that's true, Mr.
Mr.
Kalyan.
Kalyan from EB5 American LLC is the point of contact. Kindly feel free to reach him. His number is 908-448-8608. And also Lakshmi Mopartikaru, if you have required any life insurance, health insurance, or any kind of an insurance benefits or any kind of investment plannings, will trusted planning and everything, Lakshmi Mopartikaru will be able to assist you. Her phone number is 732-789-9677. And our law firm, BBI Law Group PLC, and our phone number is 703-496-7722. My mobile number is 319-400-0053. You can visit our website also, www.bbilawgroup.com. It's www.bbilawgroup.com. And for the Skil App, please visit website skillapp.com.
Skillapp.com.
Skillapp.
No, it's skillapp.com.
My apologies.
Sorry.
My apologies. It's skillapp.com, skillapp.com, and please go through them and look into the Skil App and see basically what benefits they provide. I think they ease the process for many IT consulting companies and other service-based companies. So look into those things and look into that, and kindly feel free to post any questions you have. And because of the lack of the time, whatever questions posted in the comments, please send us an email format or by text format to my cell phone 319-400-0053. I'll be very glad to answer all your questions. Thank you very much. You all have a wonderful good night.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot, Bhanugaru.
Sure.
And it was like a wonderful session to understand the EB5 program.
Sure.
And we are really delighted